Ajahn Brahm, who is our spiritual patron, we're very grateful that he's able to visit us and give many Dhamma talks and also conduct retreat about 4 to 6 times a year. And he was born in London in 1951. So those of you who can do quick calculation, you would know that his age is, what's his age? 1951, now it's 2004, 53. But I'm sure he doesn't look it. So anyway, at the age of 23, after he graduated from Cambridge University in theoretical physics, and he spent a year teaching, he then went to Bangkok to be ordained as a monk. And subsequently, he met the teacher, the late great meditation master of the forest tradition, Ajahn Chah, and trained under him for about 7 years. He was later then invited to Australia, Serpentine to be precise, which is about an hour's drive away from Perth, to set up a monastery for Buddhist monks. And since then, he has been living there, and he now has over 20 monks under his training. Some of us had the good fortune of visiting the monastery, and the pictures are in the Connection newsletter, where the Katina, which is the rains retreat, end of the celebration rains retreat, was held. And there were over 800 people at this monastery in the forest, away from the city, and with 20 over monks lining up to receive their dana. It was a beautiful sight. It was like going back in the time of the Buddha, where people lived, the monks lived simply and accepted alms from the people with their bowls. So now, if you kindly put your hands together to welcome our spiritual patron, Ajahn Brahmavamso. Okay, and before we begin, could we invite all the people who are standing in the back and also coming in to come and sit in the front also to, why don't the front rows just move up to the stage, and then you can make room for the people who are coming in. Would you all just move up? One realm higher.
Yes. Closer to Nibbana. Come up. Sit on here.
See what happens? Sometimes enlightened people called you up and you don't want to go. You want to stay in samsara. Come on up.
Please come to the higher realms.
Come on up.
Yeah.
Yeah, please can sit on the steps
More
to make
energy
room.
up here.
Yeah, first class seats. Unfortunately, the fourth floor is not quite ready to take the overflow crowd because there were some other activities going on. But tomorrow evening, the fourth floor will be available for the overflow crowd. So we apologize for that. Now fourth floor is ready. Oh, it just goes to show impermanence. Okay, in the working. So those of you who really don't want to be crowded up here, please, you may go down to the fourth floor, but if you're already up here, please move to the front. There's still seats here, because 1.5 hours to 2 hours is going to be a long time for you to be standing. So we want to be compassionate to you as well. So please come up and sit down here. And if you hurry, then we can start the talk, because we want to make sure that everyone is seated comfortably and people are not going to be distracted by people walking around. Okay, perhaps you all might want to also divert the crowd downstairs. Thank you. Can you all please move up more? Just move all the way as close to Ajahn Brahm as you can.
Get more power.
So that you can, yeah, more power.
More power.
And can you all please move up as well? Move closer to the steps, move up the stage. Come on, please. Come. Thank you. Excellent. And then if you all move up forward so that people in the back who are just coming in can actually sit down. Those of you who chope seats, can you all please start giving up your seats? There's some more space up here. Those of you, do you want to come up to the front? There's some more space there as well. Okay, tonight's topic is a very interesting one. It's called meditation to power your mind. And we're going to do the format slightly different. So instead of Ajahn Brahm giving you a full talk for a whole hour, and then maybe we might not have a lot of time for questions and answers, what we're going to do this time is get Ajahn Brahm to start off by defining the mind and meditation, and then we'll go straight into a dialogue with him with questions that I've prepared, and also any one of you who've got questions may come and join in. Okay, so Ajahn Brahm, may we request that you start off by helping us understand the mind and how meditation helps the mind.
Okay, to understand the mind, I ask people a question. Are you happy? No. Okay, if you're happy, I want you to put up your right hand. If you're unhappy, put up your left hand. You have to put up one of the two. Now keep your hands up. Now with your index finger, please point to that happiness for me. Or where is it? Okay, the object lesson is completed. If anyone says they don't believe in the mind, ask them to please point to happiness, please point to pain, please point to anger, please point to depression when you're depressed. When you're worried, where is worry? Where does it live? You cannot point to it in the body for one reason, because happiness, pain, anger, physical, the experience in the mind of pain, anger, resentment, jealousy, because they don't live in the body, they live in the mind. The very fact that anger, jealousy, depression, frustration, worry, guilt, the very fact that those things exist shows you that the mind exists. In the same way, the fact that flowers and weeds exist proves that a garden exists. So the mind is there. But sometimes people want to know what that mind is. And in my little book, this amazing story. A friend of mine, an old friend from university, his child was in the first year at school when the teacher asked the question, what's the biggest thing in the world? One child said, my daddy. Another child, it was only 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, another 5 or 6-year-olds said, no, an elephant is the biggest thing in the world. They'd just been to the zoo. Another child said, no, a mountain is the biggest thing in the world. They were getting closer, maybe. And the daughter of my friend said, no, my eye is the biggest thing in the world. And everyone stopped and thought, what do you mean your eye is the biggest thing in the world? And this little 5-year-old said, well, my eye can see her daddy. My eye can also see an elephant and a mountain as well. If all of those things and many more can fit into my eye, then my eye must be the biggest thing in the world. Now that's a very good answer, but it's not quite correct. It's close, because your mind can see everything your eye can see, but it also can imagine things you'll never be able to see in the real world. And your mind can also hear sounds, real and imaginary. It can feel, and it can smell, taste, and it also has its own sphere of things it can know. In fact, anything which can be sensed or known can fit into your mind. Everything can. Therefore, isn't it rational, isn't it logical to say that the biggest thing in the world is the mind? All that can be known can fit into the mind. Therefore, it is the biggest thing in the world. Which is why you can't actually point to happiness or fear or anger or grief, because they don't live in the body, they live in the mind. And those of you who have had anger or say grief, if you've just lost a loved one, the whole world for you is grieving. The whole world is sad. Or when you're in love, the whole world's in love with you. So it seems. Because if your mind is in love or your mind is in grief, because everything in the whole world fits into your mind. You understand why, when we have an emotion like that, it colours our whole world. The mind, the Buddha said, is the biggest thing in the world. It's it's a forerunner of all things. When this body dies, your mind is left. You'll go and have another body afterwards. Those of you who think you're finished with school, think again. You're going to have to go back next time if you don't get it right. The point is here that the mind is the biggest thing in the world. It's the chief, which is why that the Buddha said to train your mind, to empower your mind, to know your mind. And if you empower and train the mind, then you have power over the whole world. So that's what the mind is. Now, the way of training the mind, to give it power, you'll know that the one thing which made Buddhism stand out above all other religions was this was not a teaching which was revealed to the Buddha by some other power. It was actually experienced by himself, by the Buddha himself, in his mind. The Buddha trained his mind in deep meditation to empower that mind. And the result of empowering your mind was twofold. First of all, there were the psychic powers which came with a powerful mind. But number two, there was also the best psychic power of all, which was being able to see the truth for yourself, to understand the truth of things. And that was the great power which the Buddha found under that Bodhi tree. And that's why that meditation is a way to empower your mind, but not just so you can do great tricks. Sometimes this young boy in Australia came to see us, and he asked one question. He's only about 11 or 12-year-old. He said, "How much can you do?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "How many inches?" "What do you mean, how many inches? What are you talking about?" And in frustration, after rolling his eyes, he said, "How high can you levitate? Show us." He wanted a monk to come and levitate for him. So, those are not the psychic powers which people show. And monks are very secret about their psychic powers. Because imagine what would happen if we told and showed you that we could read people's minds. If the authorities really knew that a monk could read someone's mind, we'd be in great trouble. The CIA would force us into going to the interrogation camps and finding out, is this person Al-Qaeda? Is this person Jihad? Is this person... It'll save so much time. Just be able to see them and interrogate them straight away. 100% accuracy, no trouble, no torture, no nothing. Oh, we'd have... Or even if you were a Singaporean and can do that, they'd put you at the Changi airport. They wouldn't need any SARS monitors. You could see straight away who's got chicken flu, who hasn't got chicken flu. You'd never have any peace. And if you could levitate, imagine what could happen if you could levitate above the ground.
You won't need to fly here.
You won't need to fly here, save a lot of money on aircraft. But actually, you've got cheap airfares now, cut price airfares. You get the cheapest cut price. You'll be even able to undercut, what's it called, Value Air. It won't be Value Air, it will be Buddha Air. Okay, go. And more than that, you'd find yourself going to Beijing to represent Singapore in the high jump, and you'd be guaranteed a gold medal. No one could match you. So we downplay our psychic powers. The main one is not doing tricks, it's making people happy. The main point of meditation, the main point of empowering your mind is to take away the pain in your heart, to take away the misunderstandings between men and women who are married, who are in the same family, to take away their anger, their grief, their misunderstandings deep inside themselves. That's why we empower our mind. The power to see deeply into ourselves and understand our nature. And one of the reasons why I'm sitting up here is because even though I went to a good university and studied a lot, one thing I found by going to a university like Cambridge Because all the studies in the world, they can make you an expert in theoretical physics, which was my field, or they can make you an expert in chemistry or biochemistry or genetics, but they didn't make you happy. One of the reasons why I left academia was because I saw that all those great professors, and some of them were Nobel laureates, that they still weren't happy people. And I thought, what's the point of intelligence if it doesn't give you happiness inside, if it doesn't give you peace of mind? And so instead of actually carrying on with academia, I decided to become a monk instead. When I became a monk, I went to a tradition which focused on meditation, hour after hour of meditation in simplicity, where there were very few books at all. Because I'd already gone the path of books. And I thought that you can study and study and study, but still you don't have any peace. Because all those words in the books, why do you have to keep reading and reading and reading and reading? Can't you get the message the first time you read these books on Buddhism? The message is to be generous, to keep your precepts, to meditate, to train your mind, to let go, to be free and get the ultimate happiness. The Buddha said there's no happiness higher than peace. Wonderful teaching. But peace is the highest of happinesses. So when I saw those teachings and understood them pretty quickly, to understand what you had to do, it was like a map, a treasure map there. And you understood where that treasure map was leading. It wasn't leading to Thailand, it wasn't leading to the Himalayas, it wasn't leading to Fort Knox, where all the gold is. It was leading inside of yourself, into the heart of the mind. And when you understand that that was what meditation was all about, then that's what you did. And you followed the mind to its source. And that's where all the wisdom and the power comes from, which I have, just from deep meditation. And you find that other people also follow that path. They also empower their minds in so many ways. First of all, you find that you can become very successful in life when you can train yourself in meditation. The best way of describing this, I'm just going to reach over for my glass. Lasso it. Yes, that's okay, I've lassoed it. Now the best way of describing this, the first power which you have through meditation is learning how to put things down. Some of you have heard this simile before about meditation, about empowering your mind. It's one of the most simple similes, but also one of the most effective. It's usually our teachers that the first time I teach anyone meditation to describe what it is in a very easy way to understand. How heavy is a cup? The point is, the longer I hold it, the heavier it seems. If I keep holding this for 10 minutes, I will start to ache. If I'm still holding this in half an hour's time, I'd be in quite a lot of pain. If I'm still holding this by 10 or 11 o'clock when this talk finishes, I'll be in such great pain, I'd also be a very stupid monk. And the point is, when it starts to get heavy, what should I do? Yeah, put it down, let it go, take a rest. I don't need to throw it away. I just need to put it down for 10 seconds or 20 seconds, and I pick it up again afterwards. It worked again, it feels lighter. If you don't believe me, you can try this experiment at home. The point being here is when you let things go, you give your mind a chance to relax. Just when I put this cup down, my arm has a chance to relax. Now, one of the first things with empowering your mind is giving it space to relax. Already the people in Singapore, in Australia, in the US, in Europe, what's the biggest cause of disease and death? Stress. We live in such a busy lifestyle. So how can you be successful? Do you have to become a monk? Please don't, because my monastery is full. It's a bit too late. I gave you the chance last time I was here. But no, you're going to be living in that world. So how can you cope with your business, with your work, with your family, with your other commitments? How you can cope these days? This is how you cope. When life gets heavy, put it down, for goodness sake, for a couple of minutes. 5 minutes even. When you pick up your burdens afterwards, it feels lighter. Stress is because we don't know how to let things go, not even for 2 minutes. We worry, we think, we plan, we argue 24 hours of the day. The Buddha actually said this. People, their minds, their brains, they on fire during the day and they smoke at night. They're still burning there, but maybe not as fiercely. And that's the reason why we don't live very long, and why we get diseases, and why we have arguments in our family. We have arguments because we're so tired, we've had enough, we've been so busy, we just have no more room for tolerance anymore. And when our wife says something or our husband comes home 5 minutes late, we just can't take anymore. We're at our limit, which is why we shout and we say things we regret for the rest of our life sometimes. It's always because we don't give ourselves enough rest, enough peace. So we say this to empower your mind through a little bit of meditation. It's incredible how successful you can be in your life. You don't have to give up your job or give up your career or give up your studies. You find you can do more studies because you're more efficient. You can do better business because you're not so stressed. You can have a better life. You feel you're more in control. When you get tired, you put it down just for 5 minutes. That 5 minutes is an investment which you reap back in the afternoon by having more power. Now I think you can know this. This is not a psychic power, it's something which you know yourself. When you're tired, are you efficient? Can you make good decisions? When you're tired, you make too many mistakes because you can't see properly. The point of empowering your mind is giving it rest so it can build up its energies again. One thing that my teacher Ajahn Chah taught me when I was staying with him was to get a strong body, you have to exercise it. You have to do work. You have to run, jog, play sports, go to the gym, whatever it is to get a strong and healthy body. But for a strong and healthy mind, he said, you have to rest it, to make it still. The more still you make the mind, you will find the more power you have. You feel that, the more energy flows into the mind. To make it quite clear, there are two parts to this thing we call the mind. The active part, which I call the doer, the thing which creates thoughts, which creates actions, which plans. It's the active part of your mind, that which does, the doer. There's another part of your mind which just knows. It's the passive part of the mind, the thing which receives the information. The doer is what reacts to that information. When you understand those two parts of the mind, you can understand Buddhist meditation very, very well. In Buddhist meditation, we're quietening down the doing mind. So we're not being active, we're sitting still, number one. And number two, we're making the mind still, so we're not making thoughts, we're not reacting. Sometimes it's the case you might be meditating and there's a noise comes up and you think, oh, the noise is disturbing me. It happened once when I was a young monk. When I was supposed to be meditating, the village next to us had a party. And you couldn't imagine just the sound of the loudspeakers. It was like having music in your room in the monastery. It wasn't quiet at all. It was also bad music as well. It wouldn't have been so bad if it was the music I liked. But it was terrible music. And so we complained to Ajahn Chah because the villagers wouldn't listen to us. We were just young monks, but maybe they listened to this great teacher. We said, Ajahn Chah, please tell those villagers to turn the sound down. It's disturbing our meditation. And he said something which was so wise. I remember it to this day, and I apply it to so many experiences in my life. He said, listen, it's not the sound disturbing you. You are disturbing the sound. Shut up. And he was right, as usual, because sound is there. If it wasn't the villagers, it would be the traffic. If it wasn't the traffic, it would be the sound of the cicadas at night. There's always something making a sound in the jungles. And the point is, this is what just villagers do. So, understanding that, it's not that the sound disturbs you, you disturb the sound. It's not even the body, the pain disturbs you, you disturb the pain of the body. It's part of nature to have pain. Stop trying to get rid of it. It's not your wife disturbs you. You disturb your wife. She's just being her, that's who she is. What do you expect?
Sorry to interrupt. There's a car blocking someone downstairs. SCL 5764. Could you kindly move your car so that the other person can get out? SCL 5764.
What make is it, do you know? What make of car is it?
I don't know.
It's not mine.
Please turn off your handphones so that there's no interruption as well. If you kindly remember, just turn off your handphones or put in silent mode.
Isn't that disturbing the handphones rather than handphones disturbing us?
Please disturb your handphones.
Okay. So you can actually see that this way of meditation is to leave things alone. You don't do things. And when you don't do things, you're not giving energy to that active part of the mind. Now, as Singaporeans, or for Europeans, Americans, the one thing which we've really learned is to do things. We're great at activity. We can think, we can plan, we can organize, we can manage, we can fix up faults. But the one thing we can't do is sit still and be quiet.
Do you think you could get us to try that for a little while now, to show us how to meditate?
Sit still and be quiet?
Yeah.
You asked for it.
Well, I think probably there might be people here who've never meditated.
Really?
So,
Do you want to give it a
how
go?
many of you never meditated? Please put up your hands. Would you like to try that right now?
Okay, we'll give it a try. Okay. Okay, so sit still, shut up, and be quiet.
Not
Right.
too long.
Not too long, just do 2 or 3 minutes. So close your eyes. Now I want you to count 3 breaths. Just breathe in and out 3 times. And open your eyes now. Is anyone couldn't do that? Is it difficult? Okay, now close your eyes again and breathe in and out 3,000 times. It's the same thing, 1 breath at a time in the present moment. Just to focus all the attention. Start again, close the eyes, breathe in and out 3 times. Then ask yourself, how did you know you were breathing in and out? Whatever feeling or sensation that was, just focus on that sensation wherever it is in the body, the sensation of breathing. It's only for a few minutes. So you're focusing on your breath in order to let go of everything else. Just feel the breath. And be kind to your breath. This breath, it carries oxygen from all the trees and the flowers in Singapore, where oxygen is replenished. And the carbon dioxide which goes out from your lungs is your gift to the trees and the flowers, to all that's green. It's what the trees need. So as you breathe in a gift from nature. As you breathe out your gift to all that's green. As you notice this rhythm inside your body, which connects you to the world outside. But don't do the breathing. Your job is just to notice it. Be the supervisor, not the dictator. And be so compassionate to this breath, so kind and gentle, like a child or like a baby. As you rock the baby to the left, the breath goes in. You rock the baby to the right, the breath goes out. Calming your mind down. Allowing all of the past and the future to disappear. No worries, no concerns. As you just let go of the world and focus inside on your breath. Don't worry about time. Stay in the moment, as if there's no time at all. All there is now. Try not to do anything, not to control. It's like you're taking your hands off the steering wheel and feet off the pedals of your car. Just being with the breath, that's all. Now, how do you feel? What's it like inside you? You may be able to feel peace, inner peace. I now want you to follow 3 more breaths. At the end of the 3rd breath, open your eyes and come out of your meditation. It's not that hard, is it? Sometimes it's the easiest thing to do in the world, to let go. And you find a little bit of meditation, you become peaceful. The mind has a rest. When it has a rest, it feels more power. To show you what I mean, one of the experiences I had with my meditation was when I was a student at Cambridge. In those days we had final examinations, which literally were final. 6 days of examinations, you passed or you failed. Everything else you did for the whole 3 years you were in the UK universities counted for absolutely nothing. You passed or failed according to 6 days of exams. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in a row. 3-hour exam in the morning, hour for lunch, 3-hour exam in the afternoon. They don't do that anymore. It's too stressful even for students. But I had the competitive advantage. For those of you whose children are doing exams, teach them some meditation. They will too will have the competitive advantage. Because what I did, I never had lunch on those 6 days. Had a good breakfast, a good dinner in the evening. My 1 hour at lunchtime, I went back to my room, sat down on my cushion and meditated. Have a guess what came into my mind as soon as I closed my eyes? What did I do in the morning examination? Did I answer that question correctly or not? I started lingering on the past. I remembered, look, the morning examination is finished. Whether it was right or wrong, it's too late now. What a waste of time, let it go. So I did let go of the morning examination. As soon as I stopped thinking of the examination which was just passed, what was the next thing which came up into my mind? The afternoon exam. Should I get out the books and start swatting? I'd done that many times. Every time you looked up the books just before the examination, never once did that question come up. And I realized, listen, this is the time for rest, not the time for swatting. I'd done that the night before. So I let go of, for me, the future. And this is a simile of what meditation is and what it does. As soon as I let go of the morning exam or the afternoon exam, then I came into the present moment now. We all have exams in life, whether it's at work, in our family life, but we keep on thinking of the examination we just done. We keep thinking of the tests which lay ahead of us. That's no way to pass examinations. This was my rest time. I let go of all examinations. I became in the present moment. The next thing I noticed shocked me. I was actually shaking. I never thought of myself as a nervous person. It was quite understandable you'd be nervous at final examinations when so much was at stake. If only I would have known I was going to become a Buddhist monk, I wouldn't have needed to worry so much. But nevertheless, I was worried, but I never noticed that before. That was what was so shocking and alarmed me. My goodness, I was nervous and I'd never noticed it because I was so worried about something else, the past or the future. As soon as I noticed I was shaking physically, I could actually calm my body down. The next layer, which I found out, surprised me and alarmed me even more. As soon as I stopped shaking, I realized how tired I was. Mentally tired. I was exhausted. Simply because I'd been up late at night, reading through the books, revising. I'd just done a 3-hour exam. The way I explained it, I had no brain juice left. I was tired. Now, I know now that tiredness, if you don't notice it and do something about it, that's where cancers begin. The brain, the mind is just worn out. And we keep carrying on. We don't notice the signals of the body. The body is telling you, screaming at you, stop, rest, take a break. I'm going crazy, says the mind, but you don't listen until it's too late. So I learned there was a deep, sometimes you call it subconscious. It's not subconscious, you can see it very clearly if you just stop to look. I stopped to look and there it was, I was tired. As soon as you see the problem, you can actually solve it. You just rest the more, you find the energies coming back into the mind. You're not so tired anymore. You'll become bright, relaxed. And my friends, you can ask them if ever you see any of my friends, that they told me I was the only one who went into the afternoon examination with a smile on their face. They thought I was cheating. In one sense I was. My examination technique no one else knew. And I did really well. Because obviously if you have to perform to a high level, you need to be relaxed, energized, focused. It's much better than eating my meal. That was my examination technique. My meditation showed me how to bring power to my mind, to perform the task of final examinations at a big university. And I've used that ever since. If I have to give a talk at the Buddhist lodge, you empower your mind. Relax. Have any of you ever seen me nervous when I give a talk? Because you don't do that. You empower your mind, you give it energy, you give it sharpness. And that's how you get power. Now, the way I can be efficient and effective as a Buddhist teacher is the same technique you can use to be effective in your business. If you got to, this is a cutthroat business these days, climate, it's very competitive. If you want to have that advantage, you have to make your mind very powerful, to be able to be sharper than your competitors, to see things which they can't see. Look at the success of the Buddhist fellowship. And that way, even in the spiritual marketplace you can be successful. Because what we're doing here is actually see what the problems are and be effective. That's all empowering your mind. It empowers the mind to have good health and long life. It empowers the mind to be able to... Listen, last time I was here, or about a year ago, or some time ago when I was here, the kids asked, the youth said, what's the point of going to Buddhist temples? We just hear the same old thing, the same old chanting. It doesn't mean anything to us. And so they said, can you give some advice to our youth group? I said, okay, bring the youth group over here. And I told them how to chat up girls. How to get nice boyfriends. And I said, look, this is important to young people. So let's use how to empower your mind to get the nice girl. And I told them how to do it. It's amazing what you learn as a monk. Because what you're doing, using the same techniques. What's those techniques? Number one, you relax. You enjoy yourself. Because what makes you attractive, or any young men here, what makes you attractive to a young girl is that your confidence. Your confidence, your ability to make them laugh, to be sort of a good companion. Which means you relax, you don't think about yourself. And I told her one of these amazing stories, which I learned a long time ago. The reason why that young people have a hard time finding a partner, like a young girl. Now you're looking for a nice boy, and sometimes you don't know how to attract a boy either. And you're so concerned about your appearance and how you speak, you miss the point. Because what happens when you're in your 20s, whether you're a boy or a girl, you're really concerned what other people think of you. Your language, trying to be cool, your fashions, it's all to impress somebody else and get a partner. When you're in your 20s, you're really concerned what other people think of you. Usually, when you're in your 40s, you get what's called self-confidence. Basically, you don't care at all what other people think of you. But when you're in your 60s, you finally find out that people weren't thinking about you anyway. They're only thinking of themselves. The young girl is not worried about what you're saying, she's worried about what she's saying, whether she's coming across as attractive. The boy is not worrying about you, he's worrying about what he's saying. So when you can do that, you can just forget it and just enjoy yourself. And when you enjoy yourself and you relax and have fun, that's how you perform well. Whenever I get up here or any other place, I decide I am going to have fun. Whether people like it or not, I don't care. I am having fun. When I have fun, I relax. When I relax, words come out very easily. You never stumble, and you can actually relate to people when you have fun. Same way, young people want to find a partner in life, or middle-aged people, because we're always trying to find partners, swapping this and swapping that. But if you're trying to find a partner in life, have fun, being a fun person. Because then it's not just you are a happy person, you relax, you're attractive. People like happy people. So this is actually telling young people how to get on in life, even with your customers. If you're miserable and grumpy, they won't come to you anymore.
Sorry to interrupt, but there's another car blocking. SBM 5050E. Can you, the owner, please move your car? SBM 5050. Thanks.
Okay.
And if I may at this point,
Yeah, go on.
could you kindly explain the different types of meditation that are taught by various teachers or various traditions, and which, therefore, is the right one for each of us to practice? Because there's
Types of meditation. There's fun meditation, there's misery meditation. Now saying that if it leads to peace, if it leads to happiness, if it leads to clarity of mind, it must be the right type of meditation. So find out what it does for you. If your meditation gives you more stress, you're even more worried and more painful, my goodness, what are you doing it for? Have you got enough stress and worry already? To give you an idea, that I went to this one meditation centre outside of Sydney, and the person who was driving me to the meditation centre said they'd just been to a retreat there a short time before, and oh, it was so painful. There was so much agony, sitting hour after hour, that they called the meditation hall the torture chamber. I thought, what's going on here? What are you doing this for? And so I said, don't worry, I will rename the meditation hall the Entertainment Centre. A place you can have fun. And when anyone's been on my retreats, in either Singapore, in Perth or wherever, I'm giving one up in Ajahn Park Lodge in KL next week, I call my retreats Club Med. Club Meditation. Because it's a holiday, it's peaceful, and you find actually it's not just wasting time. You find when you have happiness, you get deep meditation. This is a famous saying of the Buddha. Sukhino Chittang Samadhiyati, repeated many, many times in the sutras. It means from happiness the mind attains meditation, attains samadhi. From happiness. You never get into deep meditation with pain, with agony, with negativity, with ill will. Okay. My goodness.
Ajahn Brahm, how about...
You know, I'm from Theravada tradition. I know this is a Mahayana place. I really encourage people to bring small vehicles to my talk. Big vehicles take up too much space. Bring a bicycle next time. Small vehicles are cool.
Gets around the traffic.
Yeah, you get around the traffic, no parking spots. So anyway, this is actually how, the two types of meditation. In particular, I call these two types of meditation. This is a little trick I usually use. For those people who know Buddhism, I ask, what's the two types of meditation? And everybody usually says, oh, samatha vipassana. I said, forget it, that's not the two types of meditation. Those types of meditation are one and the same. You can go up a mountain thinking you're going up there for the view. You can go up the same mountain thinking you're going up there for the peace on top of the mountain. If you're going up there for the view, you're going to experience the peace. If you're going up there for the peace, you're going to see the view. Why? Because on that mountain there is both the peace and the view. They exist side by side. Sometimes people think they're meditating for peace. They'll get insight, because insight is there when there's peace. Some people think they're going up there for insight, but when there's insight, there's peace. The insight into the problems disappear, you've got peace. So there's no difference between those two types of meditation, samatha vipassana. Peace and insight always go together. That was a strong teaching of my master Ajahn Chah. They go together, he always said. But the two different types of meditation these days, I say a second noble truth meditation and third noble truth meditation. Do any of you remember the four noble truths taught by the Buddha? Noble truth number 2 was craving leads to suffering. So, second noble truth meditation means I want. I want psychic powers. I want to read my competitor's mind. I want to be able to travel through the air so I can actually see what my wife's doing when I'm here over in Buddhist Lodge. I want to get enlightened. That's wanting. That's second noble truth meditation, and the Buddha made it very clear, if there's wanting, it's going to lead to suffering. The third noble truth was letting go of craving leads to the end of suffering, nibbana. So the third noble truth is letting go of all craving, letting go of this doer. So you're not doing anything, you're not wanting anything, you're content, you're being at peace. Make peace in every moment when you're meditating. Don't make war. Meditation is not a battle. This is not the US Marines in Fallujah when you're meditating. This is the Buddha, in India. Compassion, kindness, peace. If that's the way you meditate, you'll get into incredible states of peacefulness and power. I know that because that's the path I've been traveling all these years. It's incredible the amount of energy and power you can get by letting go. let's tell one of those stories. This is not in the book. It'll be in actually, I think, in a new book which I'm going to have published at the end of the year, called The Beautiful Breath, about meditation. Those of you who've been on my retreats know this story, but there's many of you who've never been on my retreats. An Australian man meditating at home. I only used to meditate about 40-45 minutes. After an hour and a half, his wife went into the room to check on him, hadn't come out. Saw him sitting absolutely still. Too still. She couldn't see any breath. She checked on him, no breath at all. So she rang for the ambulance. And the ambulance came with its sirens wailing. The medics ran into the bedroom. They took his pulse. They couldn't find a pulse. So they put him on the stretcher straight away, wheeled him as fast as they could into the ambulance, and sped off to actually Sir Charles Gardner Hospital, one of the main teaching hospitals in Perth. Going through all the red lights when it was safe. This was an emergency. He wasn't breathing. They couldn't even find any pulse, no heartbeat. As soon as they put him in the emergency room, you may have seen this in the TV, or you may be a nurse or a doctor yourself, they put on the EEG first of all to measure the heartbeat. On the screen, on the monitor, was a flat line. Ding, 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 ding. Cardiac arrest. They put the EEG on his to measure any brain activity. On the monitor, another flat line. Ding, 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 ding. Brain dead. This is a true story. He was no heartbeat, no brain activity at all, measured on the best of machines. Fortunately, the doctor on duty that night happened to be an Indian. He was actually Australian born, but his parents had migrated from India. And he had heard from his parents that sometimes in deep meditation you can do this, you can suspend your life activities. And he heard from the wife that this is how he'd been found, meditating. And the strange thing was the top half of his body was still warm. The bottom half was as cold as you'd expect a person who hadn't been breathing, who had no heart activity for many minutes. So the doctor tried the defibrillation, putting electric pads on the chest, passing through electric current to try and stimulate the heart into activity again. Many times. They tried to get his heart going again. Every time failed. I'm not quite sure how many minutes it was, or whether it was half an hour, but a long time. And at that point, he decided to come out of his meditation. He opened his eyes, bent up. Where am I? I was in my bedroom. Perfectly okay. The heart started again, the brain started. No problem at all. He walked home.